Hey everyone, Scott here, and today in this video I'm going to be talking about the 4 secret rares from the upcoming set, Saiyan Showdown. 3 of them were revealed during a live stream yesterday, I believe, and one of them has leaked. I'm going to start off by talking about the 3 that were revealed. I will then move on to talk about the one that's leaked, and also a little bit about kind of, I guess you'd say, the ethics of whether it's right to actually show something that's been leaked like this in a video. I'll talk a little bit about that before I show the leaked secret rare, so just keep that in mind if you want to avoid the spoilers. You want to wait for Bandai to announce it themselves. There'll be fair warning before I show it. So let's just jump in and start to talk about the 3 secret rares that were officially revealed. So first up we have this one, Super Saiyan 4, the Vermilion Saiyans. So this is a fantastic card in my opinion. Works really well with the new anniversary box Super Saiyan 4 Bardock deck or the Toa version, since it can use cards either in your battle area or energy area to count as the number of colours. So even in the Toa deck where you're not charging them, as long as you have a few of them out in the battle area, this is still going to get close to its full effect. On average, I would expect you'd probably get 3 to 4 colours in your battle area or energy area by the time you're using this, most of the time, with them being multicolour black. Even just one out is 2 colours, black and whatever the other colour that it is. So yeah, as long as you got 2 or 3 of these guys in your either your battle area or your energy area, you're going to have 3 to 4 colours, which means you're going to be able to choose 3 or 4 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, send them to their owner's warp, and then get plus 5k on your leader for the turn for each card you send to the warp. It's interesting that the plus is based on the number of cards you send to the warp. So if your opponent is literally just has 1 card on the board, you're only going to get a 5k boost for the turn. That really, I guess, is kind of the one downside of this card, is the plus kind of relies on your opponent having a pretty wide board. But yeah, I think that counterattack skill is pretty fantastic. Obviously it doesn't negate the attack, but you almost certainly going to choose the card they're attacking with to go to the warp, which would end the battle, unless in like the edge case where they're attacking with something that can't be removed by skills. That is really the only case in which this isn't going to stop an attack, but even then you get the boost immediately during the counter attack step. So even if the attack is still going through, assuming you've warped a few things, you're still going to get the boost on that first attack as well. And then it's also really versatile because it also has an activate main. Just lets you get 4 of the black multicolour guys out onto the field. Obviously it's limited to turn 4 or later, but obviously with all the black multicolour guys from the anniversary box being 16k, it does mean you're getting 4 16k bodies out on the board for a single energy. Presumably the deck that are running these multicolours are going to be running at least a few of each, so the fact that you have to choose different character names each time isn't a super big deal. And yeah, like I say, the versatility, I think this is going to be fantastic for, like I say, the Toa or the Bardock Super Saiyan 4 deck. Also, the fact this has Super Saiyan 4 or SS4 in its name also means if you are running the Bardock leader, you can grab this with SS4's call, since that just looks for a card with Super Saiyan or SS4 in its name. Doesn't matter if it's a battle card, a unison, or a extra card in this case. So yeah, pretty much the go-to secret rare for both those decks. So the next card we're going to talk about is this one here, the Wicked Saiyans. So this and the next secret rare we're going to be talking about, they both come into play from the drop area after you combo with them from your hand, just by paying 2 energy. In this case, with the Wicked Saiyans, your opponent has the chance to prevent it from coming into play if they can switch 4 of their cards to rest mode. So this is one that you've got to be careful with, since you're giving your opponent the chance to essentially counterplay it by switching 4 cards to rest mode. You have to wait until they only have 3 or less cards in active mode. So that is when you want to combo with this from your hand, because at that point your opponent can't pay the cost to prevent it coming into play, so you're guaranteed to get it. And then when it does come into play, your opponent has to discard 2 cards as well. That's pretty good. And then as long as your opponent has at least 2 energy and your leader is either green, yellow, or shares a character name with the card, it also gets dual attack and blocker. Dual attack and blocker being a pretty good combination of keyword skills, because you can attack with this once during your turn, and when it restands at the end of the battle, you then have the choice to either leave it in active mode to activate blocker during your next turn, or if you're trying to go for game, you can go in with a second attack. But yeah, that permanent is really interesting because it means, obviously, this card being green-yellow, it could very easily fit in with the RARES or Raditz decks, since those are... RARES is like a green-yellow thing, and Raditz is just green, I believe. There's some green-red stuff, so it wouldn't be out of the question for you to be able to include it in those decks. And I guess the Broly would also, if you're thinking about the original Set 1 Broly, that's also a green leader that you potentially include this in. Obviously, the fact that you pay 2 of any colour at the end of the battle in which you combo with it means that doesn't matter what colour deck you're running, really. So even if you are running it in something like the Raditz deck, where you're using green and red, you're never going to need to pay green and yellow for it, because, I mean, it doesn't even reduce its energy cost in any way, so you'd be paying 8 for it with 1 green and 1 yellow, so that's not the intended way for you to play this card. So the green-yellow thing is only really going to come up if it somehow ends up in your energy, I guess. While there is some green and I believe some yellow Goku Black cards, I don't know that there's a green or yellow Goku Black leader. And with a lot of the Goku Black decks having to do with like energy manipulation and things like that, that would be something you'd maybe have to keep in mind if you're going to try and run this in a Goku Black deck. If you have an effect like the Zeno Unison, where the top card of your deck goes into your energy, that is something you'd have to worry about with this card. If you're running, like, say, a blue Goku Black deck, if this comes off the top of your deck into your energy, now you're suddenly stuck with the green and yellow energy that you can't necessarily use. But yeah, outside of that, this can just straight up be used with any green or yellow leader. And I guess because it says green, yellow, or shows character name, that would technically mean you could use it in something like Surge Broly, which is green and red, even though that's not listed on the card. It doesn't say mono green, mono yellow, or green/yellow, so just any leader that has green or yellow on it, so that opens possibility to a few other decks as well. Then there's also the idea that you could run this in some kind of deck where you want your opponent to switch their stuff to rest mode, so even if they do prevent this from coming into play, you're still getting some kind of benefit off it. I guess we've seen that kind of deck. It's been nerfed a bit with the restriction of Bergamo, down to 1 copy in a deck, but still there are some other cards out there that are like payoffs for your opponent's cards being switched to rest mode. I don't necessarily think that's how most decks are going to try and use this card. I think most people will try and just wait until their opponent can't stop pick coming into play, combo with it, play it for 2, and now they have a 40k dual attack blocker. To me, I think that's great for a lot of different decks. This gives a bit more flexibility, I guess you would say, going forward for green and yellow decks, as just like a generically good 40k attacker, dual attacker blocker that they can have access to. So yeah, another great card in my opinion. So next up we have the red-blue secret rare from the set, which is the Radiant Saiyans, which as you can see there is Kale, Caulifla, Gine and Bulla. And it has a very similar permanent to the last one we were looking at, where as long as your opponent has 2 energy, your leader is either red, blue, or shares a character name with the card, it gains double strike and critical. Obviously, with the characters on this one, there's going to be less choices for leaders that share a character name. Like, there's not a Bulla leader. There's at least 2 Bulma leaders, but there's not a Bulla leader specifically. And the same is true of Gine. There's no Gine BR leader in the game at the moment. So I guess in this sense, you could say this card is worse than the previous one. At least with the previous card we were looking at, there's leaders for all the 4 characters on there, whereas this one, it's only Kel and Caulifla that have leaders. But yeah, to go back to the permanent, the 2 keywords that this card gains is double strike and critical. So obviously that is a lot more offensive than the previous Evil Saiyans secret rare we were looking at, where you have that potential of the defensive option with blocker. This is more an out and out, right, I'm going to try and go for game. You don't necessarily have the same kind of flexibility. The auto, very similar to the previous one, pay 2 at the end of the battle after you combo with it from your hand. You play it from the drop area, and then you can choose, in this case, to play it or not. And then if you don't play it, you choose 4 of your opponent's battle cards, put them on the bottom of their owner's deck, and then you remove this card from the drop area from the game. So yeah, it's interesting. Someone from my locals was saying that this set really feels like a sequel to Set 7, Assault of the Saiyans. I think that's definitely true, especially when you look at these secret rares here. They do kind of feel like the sequels to Super Saiyan 3 Scramble and Power of Potara, even featuring a few of the same characters. Well, it was Kefla rather than Kel or Caulifla was on Power of Potara, but I guess Goku Black, no, it was Fuse the Maso actually. That was on the Power of Potara as well, so the Goku Black isn't necessarily a one-to-one comparison, but yeah, these feel very similar to those secret rares, at least aesthetically, the way they look as well. Very reminiscent of those 2 secret rares in the past. But yeah, I think this is another good option for, like I say, red or blue decks don't necessarily have a set secret rare that they have to include in their deck. This is another good choice for those. Or any of the Universe 6 leaders, although looking at it here, the special trait is only Saiyan, which is an interesting choice to not give it the Universe 6 tag, especially with 2 Universe 6 characters, Kale and Caulifla, on it. That obviously, I don't know if they're doing that just thematically, because this is like Saiyan Showdown, because you could argue that the card should also have Earthling as a special trait, because of Bulla being a Saiyan and an Earthling. So for whatever reason, it seems like they're only doing the Saiyan special trait. I believe it was the same with, if we just take a quick look, yeah. This one also only says Saiyan, whereas with the Goku Black being on there, it could also potentially have had God as a special trait. So that's one thing to bear in mind, is these secret rares are only Saiyans. Even though the characters on there should arguably be some more special traits. But yeah, all 3 secret rares seem like they'll see some amount of play, which is really all you can hope for at this point, is that the secret rares are at least playable. Whether they're going to have a massive effect on the meta, whether they're going to displace some of the more generically good secret rares like Supreme Kai Time, Baby Hatchak, things like that, will wait to be seen. So now I'm going to move on to the 4th secret rare, which, unlike these 3, wasn't revealed by Bandai. It was leaked by somebody getting their hands on some Saiyan Showdown product before release and opening boxes until they found the 4th secret rare. And it makes sense that that would happen so close to when the pre-release is supposed to be happening. So this is from the official Facebook page. And in Europe, Asia and Oceania, the pre-releases for the Saiyan Showdown set is supposed to be on the 29th of October, which is 4 days away as I make this video. That's literally this coming Friday. So, of course, these stores are going to be getting their hands on these boxes now. And for Bandai to wait this long and this late and this close to the pre-release and still not have revealed all the cards from the set, I think it's just inevitable that it was going to be leaked. You know, obviously that sucks for Bandai because they obviously have certain plans about how they want to announce and reveal the last secret rare from the set. I don't think they can really complain too much about it. I mean, they're probably gonna ban whoever it was who leaked them early, the same way they have in previous cases where secret rares were leaked ahead of time. They went and they banned whoever they could find that were responsible for the leaks. I'm assuming they're probably going to do the same thing here. But in a way, they've almost kind of brought it on themselves to wait this late in the process to actually reveal it. Basically asking for somebody to try and get some clout by leaking it. But yeah, really they've kind of brought it on themselves, which is why I don't feel bad about the fact that I'm about to show the secret rare, even though it has leaked. If we were still a few weeks away from the set coming out, or, you know, it was something where someone further up the supply chain had leaked it ahead of time, which I believe might have been what happened in a few previous cases. But literally 4 days before the product is supposed to be being opened by people, I don't feel bad that I'm going to be showing this card now. So yeah, this is going to be a final warning. If you don't want to see, if you do want to wait until Bandai announce it themselves, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the final secret rare now. This is also the one that they were referring to as potentially, they could refer to it as a special guest, something along those lines. I guess if you didn't see, you can check out my previous video where I showed the actual wording that they had. But yeah, it's a Pan Zeno card, which seems ridiculous that they would say that this card could it could be a special guest. We could refer to it as a special guest. Like I said in my previous video, we've had plenty of Dragon Ball Heroes characters on Secret Rares before, so why would they suddenly refer to this one as like a special guest? At that point, really, all they're doing is, I think, getting people's hopes up. And I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed that it's just Pan from Dragon Ball Heroes. Like, very quickly before I talk about the actual card itself, these are just the secret rares from like the last 4 Unison Warrior sets. I may have missed one actually now that I'm looking at it. But you can see how many of these are from Dragon Ball Heroes. Like this Supreme Card Time, Dark Empire Saga. You know, this Zeno Sin Shenron, Dark Empire Saga. Great Ape Saiyan, Dark Empire Saga. The Boo, I believe as well, no, he's special, which is also a term they use for things from Dragon Ball Heroes. But how many of these characters, or these specific forms of characters, are from the actual series versus Dragon Ball Heroes? Like, it's literally Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and the Goku and Frieza. Like, literally every other character on this page here is from Dragon Ball Heroes. I mean, Robaloo, that was the last one I was looking for. Dark Empire Saga. Like, why would they suddenly refer to this Pan, who, as we can see down here under the error tag, Dark Empire Saga, why would they suddenly start referring to this as we could refer to it as guest character? It's just stupid, in my opinion. Like I say, to get people's hopes up that maybe... I know why they're doing it. It's because it's I believe, the 11th anniversary of Dragon Ball Heroes coming up. I know they're also doing a crossover with, like, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, the mobile game. If anyone who watching this plays that game and keeps up to date with it, they know that they also just announced a card for that game, which is this same Pan Zeno, for their kind of upcoming collaboration with Dragon Ball Heroes and Dokkan Battle. So I guess that is the reason this is happening now, but why would they, like I say, suddenly start referring to this as potentially being a guest when we've had plenty of Zeno characters as secret rares in the past few sets that they didn't go out of their way to make this claim of them being like special guests. I mean, literally this other secret rare from the same set, these are the Zeno versions of these characters from Dragon Ball Heroes. Yeah, they didn't go out of their way to say that this is featuring guest characters. As the actual card itself, seems really good, seems kind of a slightly more generic version of Baby Hatch in a way. Like, obviously, Baby Hatch, I believe, needs a mono blue leader, whereas this one doesn't. But whereas Baby Hatch just straight up prevents your opponent from attacking anymore, this only hits battle cards. Prevents your opponent from attacking with battle cards for the rest of the turn, at least, is what I mean by that. Also has a little bit of, like, I guess, recursion, prevention, with the fact that you can't use the counterplay skill again. So if you are able to add this card back to your hand after you've used it for any reason, say you play it and then your opponent bounces it back to your hand, you don't get a second use of the counter skill. That's like a once per game thing. There's also the fact that it can be free as long as there are 4 battle cards in play. Also doesn't say in your opponent's battle area, so presumably this is including both battle areas. So as long as you have a couple of battle cards in play, you can pretty much guarantee that this is going to be 2 at the most, I would assume. Yeah, presumably, like, say you have 2 battle cards out on the field, your opponent has 1, they're attacking in to you, and then this becomes 2. Obviously, at that point, once it becomes 2 or less, it becomes vulnerable to things that counterplay a lot of the floodgates, like focus breakthrough, things like that, that hit, like, I believe it's 3 or less, which generally used against things like Topo, Poutine, the new Oceania Shenron negate, so this has the potential to be caught by cards like that if its cost gets reduced too low. However, in this case, because the way the card is worded, I believe it doesn't actually have to hit the board for your opponent not to be able to attack with battle cards for the turn. Just the way it's worded is two separate sentences. I believe that's how that works. I could be slightly wrong on that. If I am, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But that's my understanding of how these skills are usually worded. Like the new Oceania Shenron I was just talking about, that says that if it's played, your opponent gets the effect of having to mill 4, whereas this doesn't have that, so I'm assuming that's why it wouldn't matter if your opponent counterplays this. It just means you don't get the 40k body at that point, I suppose. And then it has that activate main. You pay 1, remove it from the game, and you get control of one of your opponent's battle cards. The way it's worded, again, I could be wrong with this, because it's remove this card from the game, it's not like remove this card from a drop area from the game, or remove this card from your hand from the game. So presumably this card has to actually be in play in the battle area. So the line of play would be, you play this with the counter attack, then presumably it survives till your next turn, then you pay 1, remove it from the battle area, gain control of an opponent's battle card. Obviously you would attack with this first. Why would you not want to get a 40k attack? Before you remove this card from the game, you obviously would want to swing with it. Now obviously you can only do this from turn 3 onwards because you have to have 3 or more energy. And if you do attack with it and then say your opponent is able to get rid of it somehow, you do leave yourself open to maybe not being able to use that activate main. Say your opponent has the new Super Saiyan 4 card that we were just talking about and they send this to your warp, then you're not going to be able to gain control of one of their battle cards. So that is one thing you have to be careful with. The other thing is that this doesn't actually negate the attack when you use it. It just plays itself and then the opponent can't attack with battle cards for a turn. There's nothing there that says the current attack that is going through stops in any way. So it's another card very similar to something like Dormant Potential Unleash, where a lot of the value of the card is not the fact that it negates the skill, it's the fact that it reduces your opponent's ability to attack for the rest of the turn at least. But the actual attack that you use it on is still going to be going through, so there are going to be cases where this is just totally useless. Your opponent's attacking in with a big triple strike guy and you're on 3 life. This isn't a negate, so it's not going to be useful in that case. You're also not going to be able to steal their card because it's an activate main, so it's not even like you can use it and then during the if it was an activate battle, it would be a lot better for that reason. That last skill, if you could use it during your opponent's turn as well, kind of like with Heroine's Lineage, the activate battle on that card at least, this would be way better. But other than that, I think this is still a pretty good card. I expect it to see at least a decent amount of play. This is one where I could potentially see a lot of decks kind of wanting an effect like this. Maybe it's a deck that doesn't have access to particularly strong like floodgate effects. This would be a really good generic option for that deck. So yeah, I think, like I say, this will see some amount of play in some deck out there. Obviously with this being the first Pan Zeno, there's no like particular synergies with any existing deck. But yeah, overall I think this is another good secret rare. It's just disappointing that they kind of teased it as being a guest when it's just another Zeno character. That is a baffling choice in my opinion. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Go ahead and let me know what you think of these secret rares in the comment section below. Go ahead and leave a like as well, that really helps me out. And you can subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos come out. And thanks for watching.